bejiye o kwan shefo yehu hiawo yeye o kwan na besheye yembo Yemboniti anka yensese yeba wonche beji wado nanso so Boni aye ma ebuso na ye basenya ye ti sefa ye ni boni ikache ye na chi yen free ati Boni aye ma ebuso na ye basenya ye ti sefa ye ni boni ni kache ye na je yen free ati Mobrohu nunya mi jame odima ka chemi sasempa yichi mi rema miji die nije mi krada Makano Riha Bibi Yes Dimagine Mi Yesu Dini Mojano Abentu Wani Ina Mikawami Dimi Wura Somoro Ipi Bimara Nase O Beta Mikawa Kami Huda Minya Mikawa Naseo beta mikawa kame uda mikawa nimi wura somoro ipi imara Naseo yeah, yeah. Oh, my, na beji, yeah. Oh, Guan Shefo, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, my, na beji, yeah. Yemboniti anka yensese yeba wonche beji wado nanso omo oro no doso na so no doso now rima obi seda na so
Amen and amen. Thank you so much, Papa Promo, for starting us off on this journey. So once again, you're welcome. And thank you for joining us on Zoom, on Facebook, on YouTube, on the PCG's channels. Today, we are here to discuss International Disability Day under the theme, and this is a theme that is specific to the church. Not all disabilities are visible. The role of PCG in improving accessibility and disability inclusion. The Presbyterian Church of Ghana in 2019 adopted a progressive and far-reaching disability policy with the objective of spelling out in clear terms the Presbyterian Church of Ghana's engagement with disability issues, making disability inclusion an integral part of the church's polity, programs, policies and activities at all the levels of the church. The question is, how well have we done it to date? Today we are here with a team of 4 panelists to have a discussion of this in line with the theme for this year's Disability Day, which is Not All Disabilities Are Visible. I will now introduce the panelists that we have. Our first panelist is the Reverend Joseph Ankuma Kwombo. He was challenged with a disability, with a physical disability, at a very young age, and he has braved all the storms to become a professional teacher and an ordained minister of the PCG. And he is currently pursuing a PhD at the University of Ghana. He is also an author who has published many books on disability inclusion and other topics, and I know that he will tell us a lot about it. The most important thing as well is that he's one of the authors of the 2019 PCG Disability Policy. Let us all welcome Reverend Joseph Ankuma Kwombo. Papa Kwombo, please give us a wave. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Our next panelist is my own indefatigable DSS Director for the Upper Presbytery, Mr. Maxwell Akandem. He is a development management expert with knowledge, expertise, and competence for over 20 years in project design, management, and implementation at all levels. And in fact, for disability in the church, he has supported what we call the community-based rehabilitation centers in the northern part of Ghana, in Sandema and Garu. So much work is being done on disability, all supported and overseen by the indefatigable Mr. Maxwell Akandem. Mr. Max, please give us a wave. So happy to have you on this call. Now, you're welcome. You're welcome. Now, our next panelist is our own Madame Gifty Ayoka. She is a certified speech and language therapist and an autism advocate. She also started the Talking Tips Africa Foundation, and it trains parents on typical communication development, as well as advocates for early intervention for children with autism spectrum disorder, ASD, and other neurodevelopmental conditions. Wow, that's a big word. Madame Ayoka has so many other qualifications that I can't talk about, but I know that today you will hear her experience and expertise as she speaks about disabilities that are not visible. Madame Ayoka, please give us a wave and say hello. We are happy to have you join us. Wonderful. And last but not the least, we have Mr. Joseph Achu Homaji. Mr. Homaji is a master's degree holder in educational administration, planning, and social policy from the University of Cape Town, South Africa. And he was the former assistant headmaster of Ikropon School for the Blind, former board member of the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment, NACA, and currently a member of the National Steering Committee on Inclusive Education. He is also now the National Chair for the Ghana National Education Campaign Coalition. Let us, with a warm wave of applause, welcome Mr. Joseph Achu Homaji. And I am your moderator for the day, Teiko Saba. I double up as the National Director for Development and Social Services with the Presbyterian Church of Ghana. Thank you so much for joining this very important webinar. And as I said, this webinar is being carried live on PCG TV, on Facebook, and also on YouTube. Call your friends to join. Let us know where you are joining from. Are you joining from Accra? Are you joining from Sandema? Are you joining from Asia, Europe? Let us know and let us interact. And as we move ahead, if you have any questions, type them in the chat boxes that are available to you, and we will definitely ask our panelists. And so I begin with Reverend Cromwell. Reverend Cromwell, you were one of the key people who discussed, deliberated, brainstormed, and put together the PCG's disability policy. Since 2019 to date, what are your thoughts on the disability policy and how it has been implemented? First of all, just tell us a little bit about what the disability policy speaks about, and then a little bit about how it has been implemented. Thank you.
So you can fix it.
Okay. Thank you, Papa, and thank you for being the brain behind this. That now we have a policy. And I can read into what you are saying, that since 2019 we have a policy. But do you believe that the church has been welcoming to people with disabilities over the years? Persons with disabilities over the years.
And there are no worship materials that are friendly to them. You know, persons who have hearing impairment, they come to church and there are no sign language instructors in the church. And when we close, nobody gets near them and say hi. And so, yes, we say, oh, we are all-embracing church. We are embarking on a holistic ministry. But you ask yourself, how holistic is our Presbyterian holistic ministry?
Wonderful. Thank you so much for setting us off, Reverend Cromwell. And the question is, how holistic is our Presbyterian ministry?
What can we do better? I want to move on to Max now. And Max, with your work that you are doing in the Upper Presbytery, we see that the church has done something with the work that we are doing with the community-based rehabilitation projects. Can you tell us a little bit about the work of the community-based rehabilitation projects and some of the few things that it has been able to achieve? Mr. Kandem. Yes.
With respect to disability inclusion, the Presbyterian Church has taken a commanding lead as far as facilitating inclusion of supporting persons with disabilities in their various subjects. For instance, I must say that since 1976, 1991, the Presbyterian Church established the Garo Community-Based Rehabilitation Program, and then 1991 established the Sandema Community-Based Rehabilitation Program. And ever since, the church has focused on 5 components or thematic areas based on the World Health Organization matrix, which is the health component, the education component, the livelihood component, the social component, and then the empowerment component. And ever since the church started its implementation, we have focused on these 5 thematic components to ensure that people with disability have access to services. For instance, when you take the health component, you realize that the Presbyterian Church has supported over 50,000 persons with disabilities in the area of health. Now, it is against under eye. It is because the Presbyterian Church wants to facilitate access to inclusive eye care services. That is why the Boku Eye program was established. And that is why the regional eye center again was established in the regional capital, so that people who have blinding conditions can have access to eye care services. those days, people had blinding conditions that were reversible through operations, and they were sitting in their homes totally blind. But with the establishment of the eye care program, all these people who were sitting in darkness got their sight restored. And so those of them who had irreversible blinding conditions, for instance, people who became blind as a result of glaucoma for a very long time, could not have their sight restored. People who became blind as a result of onchocerciasis could not have their sight restored. So the church thought it wise that what do we do with those people with irreversible blinding conditions? And that is how come the community-based rehabilitation programs were established, to provide alternative support to these people to be able to adjust and live an independent life. That gave birth to the community-based rehabilitation programs.
Yeah.
And so people who could not get their sight restored were now referred to the community-based rehabilitation program for us to provide them what we call orientation and mobility training, making sure that they utilize their remaining 4 senses. You know, the human being has 5 senses. So the first, one of the senses is gone. The ability to see is gone. So how do we utilize the remaining senses? So we train them depending on what you want to do, for you to readjust and function well within the society.
Max, I've heard stories about farmers.
Yes.
Visually impaired farmers who are able to weed.
Yes.
And tell the difference between a weed and a crop.
So we train them. We have an inclusive agriculture program for the visually impaired persons. So we train them how to differentiate between weed and then crops. And it will amaze you that they are able to meet their food security needs and even sell some to meet their basic necessities. So you have visually impaired clients who are into agriculture, and some of them just won the district farmers award every year. They are part of the winning. Yes. So this is what the church has been doing over the years. Then let me move away from the visually impaired into physical. So the church again realized that over the years, the community-based rehabilitation programs identify people with poliomyelitis, physical disabilities, some congenital disabilities like bilateral clubfoot, knock knees, and the rest. And so we used to send these people to Contact Orthopedic Center. There was none in the north here, and so the community-based rehabilitation, in partnership with PCG, again with CBM, decided that we needed to have one established within the northern sector, so that people will not travel all the way to Kwanta and in Sawam for orthopedic and physiotherapy services. Hence, the establishment of the Boku Orthopedic Physiotherapy Center to provide accessibility to the physically challenged. And that is why we have the orthopedic center in Boku, right? And so today, people with physical disability who need orthopedic service surgery go to Boku for operations. And again, we had to train an orthopedic surgeon who came back to provide that service and is currently at post. Then we had to train a physiotherapist who is currently also at post to provide physical therapy to the people who need physiotherapy interventions. And in that sector, we have again supported over 30,000 clients in that sector, providing access, inclusive healthcare services to people with disabilities.
Wow, wonderful. These are so high and lovely interventions that the church is doing.
That is just the health component.
I know you are passionate.
The health component. Let me move ahead to tell you within the health component again.
2 minutes.
Realize that. Yes.
2 minutes, please.
But I haven't gone for. So within the health sector, I just want to give you within the health sector. Just quite recently, we established the mental health hospital. Again, to facilitate access to mental health services, people with psychiatric problems, mental disorders, people with epilepsy. Instead of going to Accra, that service is now in Bolgatanga, so that people can have access and provide inclusive healthcare services. Again, within the health sector, we have established audiologists center to provide people with hearing problems. So let me move away from health. Now, when you come to livelihood is to ensure that people with disabilities who are above school-going age, what can we do? We provide them with economic opportunities, and some of them are into trading, into various forms of businesses. And then those children within school-going age, we facilitate for inclusive education for them. Those of them with irreversible disability, like the visually impaired, they go to the various special schools for the blind. But those with mild disabilities, we integrate them within their regular community schools to promote inclusive education. Then we have social intervention. In all of this, our scheme, if you support people with disabilities and they are not able to live within their families, within their communities, then you have failed. So we give community sensitization, community education, and to families so that they can support people with disability and accept them so that they'll be part and parcel of the society and the community. The empowerment component looks at how do we empower people with disabilities for them to know their rights. We have the Disability Act. If they don't know what is inside the Disability Act, then how can they demand for their rights? People with mental health challenges, if they don't know much about the Mental Health Act, how can they advocate for their rights? So we have put them into groups. So we have over 245 disability groups, and we call them organizations of persons with disabilities, and then we have self-help groups of people with mental health challenges within the catchment area, and they are able to advocate their rights. So basically, this is what the church is doing. I think I'll end here now, and then we can continue.
Yes. Wow. Applause to the Presbyterian Church of Ghana and all the things that we are doing on the ground. But Max, all these things that you are talking about brings it to a very important fact that it looks like our theory and our practice, there is a gap between it. And so the policy document is specifying a lot of things. On the ground, especially in northern and upper presbyteries, it looks as if we are also doing a lot of work, but it's muted and we are not sharing it as much. Hopefully, at the end of this webinar, we'll see how to share it some more.
Yes.
So, Matt, thank you so much for that. Because of time, I want to move on to Madam Gifty.
That's fine.
Madam Gifty, so far we've been talking about visible disabilities, the disabilities that can be easily seen by the eye. And so when I see somebody who is visually impaired, I am able to make that person out. Or if I see somebody who has mental challenges or has a challenge, a physical challenge,
yes,
I can see
please, I have joined.
Please, how do we address the issue of the invisible disabilities? And I know you have a story to tell. Tell us your story in your own words. How you became a speech therapist and how that is helping children with autism and other invisible disabilities. And before you come on, have a sign language interpreter joining us. Haruna, welcome to today's webinar. And thanks for joining us at such short notice. You will be spotlighted for all the programs, for all the discussions moving forward. Mr. Zakaria, you'll be spotlighted for all the programs moving forward so that you interpret in sign language for us. So you're welcome.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you.
So now, you're welcome. Thank you for joining. Madam Gifty.
Okay, thank you so much. I apologize for dropping off earlier on. I had issues with my internet, so sorry about that. So on invisible disabilities, so I have an 11-year-old on the autism spectrum, and I think that I would use our experience or our journey to sort of draw our attention to the gaps in in our system in terms of working with children with hidden disabilities like autism. So autism does not, or any other most developmental neurodevelopmental conditions do not come with any form of physical signs or physical features. So basically, it's the behaviors of the child that would tell you that the child is on the autism spectrum, or the child has ADHD, or the child has dyslexia, that is reading difficulty. And these things will not see it unless you sharpen your observation tools. So let's start from when the child is born. And I know that the Presbyterian Church, we've done so well with the health system. And I always say that the church will always take the lead when it comes to some of these things. And I'm happy that Mr. Maxwell has already told us a lot about that. So how can PSG take the lead in terms of identifying invisible disabilities? So when a child is born in any of your hospitals, are we able to implement developmental screening, especially when the child turns 18 months? Are we able to screen them for any form of delays? So for instance, by 18 months, we know that a child should at least be putting 2 words together. And for even some children, they already have sentences, so as they are pushing 2. A child will be overly hyperactive, will be spinning. And so these are signs that will tell you that the child could be on the autism spectrum. And it is the community health care worker. They are in touch with these children within the 0 to, let's say 0 to 3 or 0 to 5 range. Are we able to train our community health workers to detect it early? The reason is that when it comes to autism and ADHD and other hidden disabilities, early intervention is key, and I'm sure even for all the other physical disabilities, and especially for autism, the window where the child's brain is developing, this is the 0 to 5, where by 5 years the child's brain is 90% developed, is our best window for intervention. And elsewhere in the ideal world, they try to catch them by 18 months. But why are we not able to do it here? One, I always say that Christianity is a blessing, but also because of our faith, and I will use my experience, because of my faith, even when my attention was being drawn to issues with my son, I was in denial, okay? I kept saying that, no, I mean, God cannot give me a child with, a condition, So then it delayed in getting the access to intervention. And even when I spoke to the early years teachers, they all said that there was nothing wrong with my child. So one, I would ask that the church should train the earliest contacts of children to detect invisible disabilities, okay, so that they can refer to the specialist. And this will be the early years teachers, because for me, that is where we missed it. When the nurses missed it, then the school also missed it. So even when I was telling the school that I still think there's something is wrong, you're in denial, but you also feel strongly that there's something wrong. And then they will tell me that, they've had children in this school who spoke at 7 years. And so I was like, already you're in denial. So when someone tells you, the teacher, a professional tells you that, it's okay, then you go back and then you relax. And eventually we missed about 12 months that we could have used for intervention. And finally, he was diagnosed at age 3, when he could have been diagnosed at age 18 months. And another reason why we should do the early detection through our educational system, the church's educational system and the health system, is that once the child receives early intervention, they are more likely to do well in mainstream, and they are not likely to end up in special schools. And this also cuts down on the amount of money or budgeting that will go towards maybe the child's special education, because most of the things that could have developed into a fully probably blown disability would have sort of been able to intervene at a very early stage. So my appeal today would be that the church takes the lead in the early detection through its child welfare clinic, okay, by training the community health care workers, so that on the other end, where we are already helping the persons with disabilities with jobs and skills, advocacy about their rights, on the lower end, then we are also detecting it early. so that they go on to have successful lives, and we don't have to even some of these maybe later programs that would have done, because we intervened early, it will not be necessary at a certain stage. Then the
Wonderful.
teachers, yes, and the teachers, the early years teachers too, let's train them, because they spend a lot of time with our children these days. Okay, a child is, I don't know about the early years, at what age that most of your educational systems they enroll these kids. I don't know if it's from 6 months, from 1 year, from 2 years, but these are
we have KGs and we have primary. So as KG, yes, they are in
KG.
school. Yes.
Okay, great. So KG will be around 4 years. Okay.